Folks, it's good to see all of you race fans and smiling faces.
Good to be seen.
It's good to be anywhere in Nepal, especially upright. So, race chasers, just to give you an idea of what we do. If this is your first time here, we invite a guest, and today's guest is Levi Jones. Levi had been with USAC in several different types of positions, and now he's with Indy next as the director. But before we get into that, I want to call up Bill Throckmorton, and he's going to tell you about the Daytona 500 party that's coming up in February. That they're going to try and get this thing going again.
It's all right if I just do it from right here?
You can do it from right there, Bill.
Okay. February 19th for the Daytona 500, we're bringing back the Rich Vogler Scholarship Party. Eleanor Vogler's 93 years old. She's coming back in town. Matt Dillner's given me the okay. He'll be the MC. We'll probably have Danny Williams helping out with some of that. We'll have different drivers. Levi just told me he's coming, so we'll probably interview Levi. It's going to be at Indianapolis Raceway Park, and they're a big part of it. Admission is going to be free, and if you look on our Facebook page or Lucas Oil Indianapolis Raceway Park, you can get a direct link, but you have to pre-qualify or sign up to get your tickets. It's free admission. They'll just print them out right off that page. There's a link. And if you want food, it's going to be supplied by the Checkered Flag Tavern, which is fantastic food, and you have to pay for that in advance. But we're hoping to get a minimum of 500 people there. And there's going to be a lot of auction items, live auction, silent auction. We're going to do a telethon during the event with Eleanor live, and we're going to try to pay for some scholarships. Eleanor's given out over 600 scholarships in the time she's done this, and that's what keeps that lady alive right now. So it's a great cause. It'll be a good time. Cash bar. Come out and watch the race with us, please.
Where at Raceway Park?
It's going to be in the Binford Pavilion. It's on the backside. If you drive down the backside of Raceway Park, there's a large 8,000 square foot building. There'll be 70 8-foot round tables and 25 cocktail tables and bar, food, you name it. It'll be a nice setup. Okay?
Well, that
Please
should
come.
be
We need as many people there as we can get.
right. It should be a good weekend because Saturday, February the 18th, right here, will be the next Race Chasers. So you can package it together, go to Race Chasers on Saturday the 18th, and attend the Daytona 500 party on the 19th. Our guest on February the 18th will be Taylor Ferns. So we're excited to have her. She's an outstanding sprint car and Silver Crown driver. She's also going to law school, so I don't know how she has time to do all that.
She's a lawyer. She says lawyer on her car.
Well, Mark Matheny, who is an attorney here in town, says she is a lawyer, so that'd be a good guest to have. So Saturday, February 18th, right here, Dallara IndyCar Factory, Taylor Ferns. Let's welcome our guest, Levi Jones.
Way older. Last time we saw you.
No, it's great to be here. Obviously, it's winter time in Indianapolis. It's nice to be able to get together. What they have today, lead right into this. Good to see all of you. Many of you I've seen and known and bumped into you all my life, basically, since starting in sprint cars at 15 and progressing through finally winning a sprint car race and becoming a USAC champion and winning a few more races along the way. So it's been a fun journey. Just thank you for having me here today. Look forward to it.
Well, you started racing sprint cars, I believe, in 1998, right around there. Before you jumped into a sprint car, 410 sprint car, which is a beast, as everyone knows. Did you race anything else before then?
I did. My family wasn't, generational racing family. So if I had $1 for every time I was asked about my dad Bubby or my dad Parnelli or my brother PJ or I could have my own IndyCar team. But so I'm not related to any of those. And oddly as it is, my mom was even a Jones and married a Jones. So. But I raced go-karts as a kid. My dad and one of my uncles had go-karts for something to do on the weekends in the summer, 7 or 8 times a year, and I begged and begged for them to get me a kart and let me run. That's all I wanted to do. I was outside all the time. I didn't have video games. I was on a four-wheeler and motorcycle, and it's kind of foggy now, but I think it's because my mom wouldn't let me come inside. I had to stay outside until Dad got home from work. But I just always loved being on something with an engine, working on it, and then growing up in Olney, Illinois, which is just over the Indiana-Illinois border from Vincennes. So Hobstadt Tri-State Speedway was the closest track, right? So to go there with someone from my family as a kid, and they raced on Sundays then with late models and sprint cars, and I was just hooked. One of the biggest memories of getting to the track after hot laps, getting out of the car and you could hear hot laps going on, I thought it was the end of the world. So when someone from my family wasn't going, I'd make my mom call around to somebody else from town that was going to Hobstadt, and they would take this 9, 10, 11-year-old kid along with them, which they probably didn't want to do, but I thank them every time I see some of those people still today. I don't know if it ruined me or helped me where I'm at. So then, race go-karts for fun, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old. And just, my parents probably thought I would grow out of it. They're still waiting on me to grow out of it. Traveling too far for my dad and mom to be able to go too far on the weekends, a little different than it is today, where you just take your kid out of school and you go all over the country. We didn't do that, so we got a mini sprint. Back then they were called modified midget. We did that for a year and raced at Charleston, Illinois, Marion, Illinois, and then Red Hill Raceway in Sumner, Illinois was opening up, and they were starting a IMCA sprint car class with the steel block, steel-headed engine class. So we decided to do that. It was closer to home, the sprint car. So we just did it and learned as we went, right? My dad always told me that he didn't know how to make it go fast, but he'd try to make sure it didn't fall apart. So that was the beginning, right? We did that. That lasted just half of that summer before it folded. So now here we had a sprint car. What do we do? So we looked in Speed Sport News, figure out when we can go race. Went to Paragon, Putnamville, Bloomington. The rest is history, so to speak.
Well, you won your first USAC championship in 2005, I believe, and that was with a different team than the rest of your championships. You had 7 USAC championships total, 6 of those when you drove for Tony Stewart. Now, how much fun was that, driving for Tony Stewart?
It really was so much fun. My career, to be able to do it all through my 20s, and be in a position to win, have the equipment to do it. It was, talking to some of we had content day last week at our office for the Indy Next Stars this year, and so many of them, they have no idea, right, that I raced or whatever. And so to talk about that a little bit and how that works, it's just a totally different world for them to understand what I did and where I come from. But the fun, you can't put a price tag on the amount of fun I was able to have and make a career of it, right? It was my job, and fortunately I was able to win and be successful. But just so many of the stories and the people I got to work with and the people I got to race against, and the friendships that you make in racing are incredible. And you remember the races that you lose, way more than the races you win, for sure. Talking about my first championship, I did. My dad and I had our own sprint car, and I was close to Tim Engler at the start of my career, and kind of would drive to Princeton, Indiana, and hang out in their shop. And I just remember Andy Hillenberg was running the World of Outlaw deal then, and we went to dinner one night. I remember a really serious conversation about, if you want to be a good race car driver, you can't just go to one track. You can't go to the places that you like the best. You got to go and race everywhere against the best people to be the best, right? So, and that's what we did. We went and ran the USAC races, and got our teeth kicked in for 3 or 4 years, right? But it was all part of the journey, enjoying the journey. We followed Jeff Walker's team with Tony Elliott to many of the races there for 2 years, and then kind of my first break, I ran Jeff's car at Hopstadt one night when Tony couldn't go, and that was like my opportunity. I'm like, I can win, right? I can do this, and then racing with them, and then the opportunity came. Start of Sprint Week in 04 with Scott Bennick, and we won Sprint Week right off the bat. Won Charlotte at the end of the year, and then into 05 I lived in the shop in the mezzanine with a I guess it was a twin size bed, maybe half of a twin size bed with 3 sprint car wings as a wall, and the guy that welded for Scott had another job, and he would come in at like 5:30 and leave at 8:30 to go to his other job. So I was 22 years old and up at 5:30 in the morning, just starting in, right? And that was the only thing I cared to do. I missed family stuff, I missed funerals, I missed weddings, I pissed off girlfriends along the way, and my mom, everybody, because it was racing. I just wanted to win. I wanted to be a sprint car champion.
Well, that's to be successful in any endeavor. You have to live and breathe the thing for 24/7. So it sounds like that's what you were doing. You were just absorbing all this information, because you drove for some heavy hitters: Jeff Walker, Scott Bennick, Tony Stewart. What are some of the things that you learned from those 3 specifically that has carried you to where you are now?
I think if we talk about Tony Elliott first, right? As a young kid starting, right, you had Tony Elliott and Kevin Thomas and Dave Darlin. Those are the 3 guys, right? So
that was the Trinity, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, those were the guys that got it done, right? In my mind at that time, those guys were on top of the world. They, I learned from Tony that you take care of your equipment. You've got to finish. He was so good at that, right? I mean, that was a key to his success, that he was always fast and he figured out a way to be there at the end, and that was by taking care of his car. So that one was huge for me. And then when I went to Scott Bennick's program, Scott had been a World of Outlaw crew chief for a very long time, so the engine side of things, so working with Gertie engines there, what we did engine-wise to fit what we were racing there, and the program to put together, how we prepare for the season, right? How you put your whole team together, what spare parts you need, and we had to do it economically. We didn't have a very big budget to do it, and we were able to do it by not tearing up cars, winning races, and being prepared. So those 2 things, from those 2 teams before I went to Tony Stewart Racing, was a big part of it. And I continued that through my career, right? I got accused of being a points racer a lot, and it's like, well, yeah, I mean, this is my job. The goal is to win the championship, right? When I was at TSR, Chevrolet's goal was they wanted to win the championship. So put ourselves in position to do that. And I treated Tony's team like it was my own team, like it was, what we were spending and how we did it, treated it like it was my own dollar. The whole operation there with the World of Outlaws team, the equipment and what they had and did how that trickled down and stuff that we use that maybe run 15 to 20 races on the outlaw side could be run another 25 to 30 races on the USAC side, from, everything, right? Wheels and engines and chassis, the whole project.
Now, when you got to the point where you wanted to quit driving, what was the motivation on that? Because you quit, and I think I read an article where you said that you were going to go and help your family in their business with Rural King, which I was just there this morning, so you should be happy. I spent some money at Rural King.
Yeah, my family's business, Rural King, my grandpa was actually the very first employee of the Rural King out of Mattoon. So the first 3 years he was there, and then they had a handshake agreement, and my grandpa moved to Olney and opened his own. So they're not part of any of those now. None of that comes to me anymore. But the Mattoon group has over 150 stores now. My dad's family has 7. So, racing, and like I said, being able to do what I did, I don't know. I had Chase Stockin broke the consecutive starts in sprint cars a couple years ago, but I had that. I did not miss one feature, and they didn't have provisionals for the most part of that from 2004 to 2012. So I didn't get hurt. I made the race, just under 300 starts. So that was big for me. It also shows that I did it for a long time. And then at the end of 12, I had neck issues and had to have neck surgery, get disc replaced. And I was working full time, racing. Heidi and I had Crew was 2, Winston was just born, Ava was just starting kindergarten. So there was, for a lack of a better term, there was shit going on all the time, right? So, and I really didn't have anything else to prove to myself. Winning is fun. I mean, do I wish I could do it and be the guy that went? Yeah, because that feeling is great. But no different than, I went to the high school basketball game last night. I wish that I was still in shape and 17 and hitting the last second shot there too. But time marches on. So for me to be okay with it myself, I was okay, right? And I'd driven, I wasn't running full time when I said I was done. It was actually, in a story that a lot of people don't know, but I'll share it with you guys, was midget week of 2013, the night at Gas City, the same night that Jason Leffler died in Pennsylvania. Shane Meal had a midget, and I was driving. I kept it, we kept it in Illinois, running it. It was fun to do that together with him. He had a really bad night physically at the track at Gas City. We were trying to take care of him. We were actually late to the staging for the midget race. Just going through all that, and then I won the sprint car race in Jeff Walker's car that night, and I think I beat Brian Clausen, Christopher Bell, and Kyle Larson that night. And then we get to the hotel, and I find out about Jason. It's like, all this stuff going on in my life, and I'm, it's storming after the race. The power's going on off the hotel, and I'm down where they have the breakfast area in the hotel, right, by myself. Heidi and the kids are, Heidi and the kids we're at the hotel because the motorhome broke down. The generator quit, the inverter broke, all that. So that's why we're in the hotel. That's even
It's a
more
bad
of a story.
night.
Yeah. So I'm down there, and I'm just kind of, and I don't share my faith a lot, but I'm praying to God, talking to Him, right? Like, dude, I need some help. You got to show me what I need to do here, right? I need help. I don't know what to do, because I didn't want to just race to race. I didn't need to make laps, and so that next morning, Heidi took the kids down there having breakfast, kind of L-shaped, and they were back in the corner. I got ready and I came down, and we were sitting back in the corner, and I don't even know who they were, another couple, but we could hear them talking. So, and she was, everybody had learned about Jason at that point, and, they didn't know we were back there. And she brings up, or she's saying it, well, Heidi and I can hear it. She's like, well, I don't even know why someone like that Levi Jones would even want to do it anymore, right? So I left. I got a call from Shane's mom. They were across the highway at Gas City. She needed help getting him out of bed and in his chair. And I walk out, and, like, don't even look at him, right? It was 10 minutes later or whatever, walk by to go help Lisa with Shane, and they're sitting at the same table I was the night before when I'm asking God, hey, what do I do, right? So for me, I feel like that was, it's not a burning bush moment, so to speak, but for me, it was kind of like, hey, I'm good with it, right? I'm good, and I feel like, after that, I still love to help young kids trying to race, what to do, what not to do, or just ask questions, and for so many people that stop driving, they can't go to the race. I know so many guys that they just can't go. I love to go. I love to go and watch because I know all of it that goes. I know the trouble they had probably just to get there. They probably wrote a bad check at the big gate, and hoping that that Saturday you can get some money in on Monday, right? I know all that, and to put all that on the line and go out there and compete for 30 laps is incredible to me. So that's just a little bit. Sorry to ramble on, but that's a little bit of my story.
Well, life will throw things at you, and it sounds like that's what was happening to you. You had a lot of things pressing on top of you, and you made a decision that was best for you and your family. So you're out of racing for a short period of time. Did USAC come calling, or did you approach USAC about joining up with them?
Yeah, so that story actually is interesting too, right? So we were living in Swansea, Illinois. That we had opened a new store there. We moved there January of 2010. So I was there from January 2010. The building sat empty for over 10 years. So we spent 7 months, every day just working on it. So to be there from January 10 until 15. And then we would move back here. To work with my dad every day was incredible, right? He's my best friend. Nobody, I don't know anybody that can outwork him. His birthday's today, he's 66, and he's still, I'm glad he's in Florida, because if he were here, we'd be doing something outside and, all day. But, so for him, my dad has 6 brothers and 2 sisters, and my grandpa passed away in 2008. They all bought the company from my grandma and grandpa, each owning equal share. So a lot of bosses. That time from really in 2001. So from 2000, when they bought it from him in 2001, he passed away in 2008, and Dad and I working together. And it was just to learn to be there, not as a kid anymore working in the warehouse or doing whatever store, but having 30 employees and half that are full-time, half that are part-time, and dealing with their whole life and stuff that comes up, and knowing that that job is not their whole life, and dealing with people, dealing with the public is something that 30 days of doing that is probably worth 4 years in college, honestly, if you ask me. I should have kept a journal on a lot of those things, but to do that, and then I had that midget with Shane, and we ran some, and we were able to win with with some drivers running, and that was fun. And then so USAC was kicking ideas off of me around that time, because things were not that great, right, at that time for midget and sprint car, and they were wanting the ideas of having a regional program and doing stuff, and I just kept saying, you can't worry about the little stuff, right? You can't worry about that. You got to take care of the big stuff, right? You got to fix what's happened, what you have, what's going on right now. And I just kind of got to the point. Well, it was said, well, I wish you could just come work at USAC. I'm like, I can, I can, and having the conversation with my dad, and he's like, this place is always going to be here, right? When you work for your family, if you get paid $7 an hour, that's $2 an hour too much. right? So I don't know if any of you have been in that situation, but so we did it. We decided to do it. You know, Heidi and I discussed it. We prayed about it. We moved back here Labor Day of 15. So and I mean, I think my first task I wanted to complete at the office was the basement over there, right?
Yeah.
It was just, you know, get that all sorted out, right? The history and what needed to be there and space and, you know, and it goes back. I treated that job at USAC when I was there just like I did with the race teams, like it was my own, and put my heart in it, all my passion, my desire, my intensity to make it better. And you know, with social media today, it's so hard because, you know, people are always wanting to, you know, pile stuff on you. And if you're never in a position to make decisions, right, you never make a bad decision if you never have to make one. So, you know, doing that with a very small crew, what we did, it makes me feel good, right? I mean, I've talked to a lot of you in here about where USAC is at today with the Sprint Car and Midget Silver Crown program, because it would have, you know, if it was strictly looking at it from a dollars and cents and business standpoint, they could have just kind of let it go away, really. But with the other stuff that was going on, so but to not do that and build it up and it be strong where it's at today, you know, was really, you know, those 6.5 years I was there. It you know, now it feels like it was, you know, a year. You know, some days through there it felt like it had been 20 years and there was no way to get anything accomplished. But overall, it worked out. It's in a better spot now than when I got there, and you know, even this year it looks really good.
Well, that's what you always want to do. You want to leave something in better shape than what you found it. Now, you got a call from Penske Entertainment, and they pitched an idea to you then. So how did that come about? How did you hook up with Penske Entertainment and Indy next?
Yeah, I mean, really, I was waiting on that call for 20 years from Roger Penske, right? When, you know, I think my first time at Winchester, Ryan Newman was in Johnny Vance's car, and I thought, there's no way in hell I'm going to ever be able to do what he just did, right, and practice. And, you know, Penske called him to drive it. And I actually told Roger that first time I met with him. I said, well, I was hoping you would call me about 20 years ago, but there's a reason why you're calling me now, and I appreciate that. So actually, you know, when him and Jay Fry had talked to me about what was happening at IndyCar, and and they said, right, I said, hey, we know things are going well at USAC. You know, from the outside, everything looks good. You probably don't want to do anything else. I said, well, you know, when Roger Penske calls, it's like you answer and you talk about it. So we met and we talked about the program and what the vision looked like and what their plans were, and it made me excited to be part of something even bigger, right? And even the connection from USAC to the Speedway to IndyCar. I think all of us in here are in agreement. There's a lot of history there, and to have that connection is not a bad thing. So when I called Kevin Miller, told him I needed to talk, he didn't believe me at first when I told him that. I said, no, I'm serious. I talked to Roger and Jay, and I said, I think I'm going to do this. And he did. He tried to keep me there, wanted me to stay there because, you know, we were talking about, you know, the future a little bit at USAC before that with him. And, you know, in the end he said, you know, I can't hold you back. You know, it's a great opportunity. And so that ended well. You know, Roger even was gracious enough to call and discuss that with Kevin as well. And I still help those guys as much as I can. It's I don't care if they call me at midnight or, you know, 3 a.m. or, you know, at lunch every day. I love it, and I want that to be in a good spot, so I'm always willing to help.
Well, to my knowledge, I don't think they've replaced the position that you held at USAC. They don't have that force that you were, because you cleaned it up. USAC at the racetrack seemed to be more efficient, and everybody seemed to have smiles on their faces. So you did a great job there.
Yeah, I know Mary, we were joking about that earlier, right? We were talking about it when it was 3 o'clock, it was time to go. We don't want it to be like a USAC race. That was one of the key, that was probably top of my list, right? When I started, making sure the promoters know that, hey, if we're not on time, it's not gonna be your fault. Everyone's gonna think it's my fault. So I didn't say it with a smile and as calm all the time about that, but I told her she hadn't been to enough USAC races in the last 5 or 6 years to see how that changed. But it is, just a couple notes on that, right? Tommy Estes is back, going to hit, he's going to be at all the Silver Crown races, and he's a racer. He says not all of the sprint car races or midget races, but probably be at quite a few of them. So that'll be a good addition. And like I said, we created a playbook with the people that are there, even the event staff that comes in that just works the weekends. It's a good spot. There's some young people there that have grown to respect the history and love what's going on there. So that excites me too.